Welcome to Wellbeing Wednesdays with Harbinder Narula. And today is a fortunate day because I have not one but two celebrities with me together. I have with me Luke Coutinho, who's a celebrity nutritionist focused on holistic nutrition and lifestyle medicine. And along with Luke comes Chef Sanjeev Kapoor, who's a chef extraordinaire, who is the most trusted face when it comes to anything food, to the extent that the government of India conferred a Padma Shri award to Chef Sanjeev Kapoor in 2017. Luke Coutinho and Chef Sanjeev Kapoor have come together to create a program on the gut health. And that's what we are going to be discussing with both of them today. So welcome to BW Wellbeing World, Chef Sanjeev Kapoor and Luke Coutinho. Thank you so much for joining us today. The gut has been a topic of conversation lately, and we've all realized that, when we're talking of immunity, health, it all boils down to gut. So gut health has been receiving a lot of attention. So Luke, my question to you is, in what ways does gut health affect our body?
Great. Thanks for having us here on the show today. The gut impacts every part of the human body. And the sad part is science has always known this for the longest time. But you see, what comes in the limelight is very chosen. But today with, social media and the internet and stuff and people exploring when, where medicine fails, people start exploring beyond that. And over the last couple of years, the gut has got the limelight that it needs. It impacts everything. It's connected through an axis, the brain and the gut. And I just want to get a little bit scientific here so people understand. It's called the HPA axis. All of us will find our answers in that name. H is the hypothalamus of the brain, then P is the pituitary gland, and A is the adrenal glands. These are little glands that sit on the top of our kidney, controlling stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. So right now, you can already see how a simple axis connecting the brain and the gut is also connected to all these other organs in the body, having functions from hormones to our moods, to neurotransmitters, to immunity, inflammation, even how our body processes antibiotics and builds an immune system to remember them after that. It's also connected with depression. Today, a lot of people who think depression only needs medication, I'm not against medication, take it. But are you also improving your gut health? Because we produce a lot of the neurotransmitters that make us happy, keep us happy in the gut. So basically, it's everything. In fact, if I give you an example, today, one of my patients in the morning has extreme anxiety. No stress in life, everything going well, family good, business good, but 100% problems with the gut. From acidity to bloating to constipation to everything. We know 100% when we sort out the gut, his anxiety is automatically going to disappear because poor gut health can create anxiety, and anxiety can also create poor gut health. So that's how it works in the human body.
Right. Chef, when we're talking of gut health, you and Luke have come up to create a course related to gut health. What is this course all about, and what inspired you to, bring this topic as a course?
Thank you for the question, and thank you for having us here. Thank you. So at Sanjeev Kapoor Academy, it's an academy that we started recently, I should say. These are early days, I must admit. So one of the things that we believed was that it is not only the knowledge and wisdom that I have gathered over the years, but if it has to be meaningful learning for anyone, then we have to bring in and partner with experts who are highly credible, who are followed in a way that what they have done with their expertise, it has to be shared. And today's age is the world of collaboration, and I'm glad that that collaboration with Luke is something which was the actually first collaboration that we have done, and I'm happy and glad that he consented and agreed to this. So the idea here is that we look at food in a holistic way. So my connection in minds of the people is through food and cooking, right? But food affects everything. It's how today's session, gut health, which is the course on gut health with Luke. So if we are impacting people, then how can we make sure that the learning is holistic, learning is meaningful, and that learning is valuable for them? So to make it more valuable for people who come in at the academy, this is the partnership model that we have started, and we are going to limit it to very few high quality professionals. And when we started looking at and did our research, I would say that one name and one problem which converged was gut problem, and solution was Luke Coutinho. So we said, okay, this is something where there's a convergence. Why not bring this to a level where more people can be benefited? So that was the intent, and of course, there were a lot of conversation, a lot of time that was taken, course material that was developed, because while we do things, so for example, when I first wrote my book, it was just collection of recipes. But when we did that book, I realized it was a different world. I'd been cooking for years, but that book took me 22 months to write. It was just over 100 recipes. And people say, what? No, it's something that you have to learn many things. It's a different way. It's everything is different about it. Medium is different. So academy, course, all that also is very different. We also have to learn, and that's why I said even at Sanjeev Kapoor Academy, these are early days. That's why institutions are built over a period of time. Academies, institutions are built over time. So these are early days, and I'm glad that Luke believed in our early journey, and I'm happy that he's joined with us. So big part of Sanjeev Kapoor Academy is to give higher value to people who come and join us.
So Luke, anything you want to share about the course?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for us, it's also collaborations, but the right collaborations, because we value and respect our time as massively as Chef does as well. And of course, I mean, my mom used to look up to Chef because of the simplicity and the common sense of his recipes. It was never complicated. It made sense. It was easy. At that point, my mom, we're a family of 6 kids. She had to cook for 6 children. And I always heard her saying, Chef's recipes are easy. We grew up going through those recipes. So when this opportunity came, I'm a fan of simplicity. Okay, because simplicity, in today's life, a lot of people like to use complication because they don't have a lot of substance. So they have to add big jargons and complication to kind of make people sell an idea. But the beauty is in simplicity. I call it a luxury. So when this opportunity came, we jumped into it. And I mean, all the work we've done after that has just been fun. And I liked Chef's vision of the academy to get the right information out. So we have our struggles as well. While I can teach great gut health, we can't teach people to cook that food. Now, how do we get them to translate an idea into food? And that's where I saw the collaboration, none better than Chef, to understand an idea, put a recipe, and let the end result be with our audience consuming this content and experiencing the result. So yeah.
Listening to both of you, I can only imagine the kind of fun that you must have had putting this course together. So I can only imagine that. But Chef, when we're talking about gut health, I've heard that our body is an outcome of the food we consume, right? We become what we consume. How does our food affect our gut health?
So actually, as Luke said, it's the simplicity. Good and bad news is that most people know everything. And when I say this, people exactly know what is good, what is bad. You don't need Luke Coutinho, you don't need Sanjeev Kapoor to tell them which is better between a salad or a samosa, let's say, for example. Right? You don't need it. It's that simple. Yet it is fairly complicated. But to put things in perspective, so if we are what we eat, right? It's something which we can understand that if we don't eat, we would cease to exist. Maybe slowly. Some people can exist for some time, but you will cease to exist. Okay, we haven't seen a case where there is no food and the person is still alive. We haven't seen that. We've seen people can keep without food, without water, but we don't have data. I don't have any data that's available that there's somebody who has lived without food at all. So if that is the data, then naturally, where is it going first, right? So you have to understand that gut is not only the stomach, right? In some sense, what Luke also says that your gut, in some sense, starts from your mouth. That's the beginning of that, and that's where it goes. So anything which is interacting in such an intimate way, and a lot of it many times a day, then good or bad effect of it will be there. It's there. Having said that, when we consume something, when we eat something, consumption is not only through the mouth. There are things that we see, there are things that we feel, there are things that we hear, there are things that we smell, there are things that we breathe. All that becomes part of who we are. And all that is linked. And when he talks about HPA, so if it's not, I have a gut feeling, right? Gut and brain connection we have always known. When everything is getting concentrated, that effect, naturally there are parts. So it is, but how do you use that? It is, so he talked a little bit of hormones. So we say cortisol and adrenaline, but we can use both of them in a good way also. It's not that they are stress hormones. They are not. Both can be used in a good way also. Same is the case, let's say we were to talk about so-called good hormones, but not always those good hormones. It's like goodness that does not mean that you only have oxygen, it is good for you. No. It is the balance that has to be created, and it is very individualistic in nature. It is, for me, it is different. My gut is different. Your gut is different. Everybody's gut is different. But how do we bring in, through a course, a knowledge which is explained in a simple way, and something which will affect most people and benefit most people, is what we have tried to do. But to say that people don't know that gut is important, gut health is important, I think we have known it forever. It's just that we have brought in that focus today. That, if we focus here, and if we are consistent with our approach, and there is a guide teacher that is there, the benefits are there to be seen. And look at the shining face of Luke, shining example.
Great. Luke, what are some of the factors that actually disrupt the gut health? Also, when we're talking of immune, I've heard you say that there is a phenomena which you mentioned, that once where the immune system starts eating into your own tissues, leading to autoimmune disorders. Can you explain that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So, there are many things. Today's world, unfortunately, throws prebiotics and probiotics the moment you mention gut. But sometimes that can actually cause a lot of problems. We have people who are misusing probiotics and getting constipated. Because what you're looking at is an intelligence, an orchestra of trillions of bacteria, viruses, fungi that are within this little gut of us. And they work like a perfect forest. Okay, so let me give you an example. The best example I can give you is I was in Africa a couple of days in the Mara, okay, in the wild on a project with the Maasais. What I realized and what I learned from the local Maasais is, birds chirping, okay, animals killing one another, everything happening around is a perfect ecology. If anything gets disrupted, anything, the entire ecology of the entire Mara, gets destroyed, which means there will be problems. It's the same thing in the gut. If any of this, so if we try to be too clean, too hygienic, and kill good bacteria in us which are necessary to be there, or we constantly take, self-prescribed antibiotics that take out the bad as well as the good bacteria. All of this disrupts us. But there are other things. Sleep deprivation disrupts the microbiome. Acidity disrupts the microbiome. Chronic constipation, IBS, where you have several loose motions. Eating too much of junk and processed food because that has no fiber. Fiber feeds the microbiome. All that bacteria is fed by fiber. So let's say we eat a bag of chips right now. We love it. The taste is great. They will try to put some vitamin A and vitamin C, but there's no fiber. So that food only spikes up our blood sugar levels, but does nothing to feed the fiber or the bacteria in our gut. So processed food 100% disrupts that. Chronic stress levels, because when we're stressed, remember we spoke about neurotransmitters, right? How do we feel stress? Through hormones and neurotransmitters. That is regulated by the gut. So my serotonin, that is the feel-good hormone, is regulated by the gut. So if I'm going through chronic stress, I dysregulate my serotonin. So all of this can disrupt it. So it's not about just eating more probiotics and prebiotics and all. It's also about looking at the external environment. That's why a lot of people, their stomach pain disappears when they go on a holiday. But the moment they come back to their workplace or to the city where they have stress, they start to get all the symptoms again. So it's an ecology. Think of it as a huge ecology in our systems. And that's why we encourage, children, adults to garden, play with soil, because that bacteria is good for you. We ask them to wash vegetables in a particular way, soak nuts, soak legumes, because there are certain phytic acids that disrupt the gut bacteria. So a handful of nuts may seem very healthy, but there's the right way of doing it. They have a certain phytic acid that they produce to prevent animals from eating them, because the seeds are supposed to actually plant and regrow. So nature's own defense mechanisms get activated in our system, which is why the rajmas, the chanas, we will wash, we will double wash, we will then pressure cook and then eat it. But if you don't do it, you'll blow it up immediately. So these are all the things that can disrupt the gut. It is not just about probiotics and prebiotics.
Yeah, I think a very good point he made about probiotics. And it's so true that there are people say, oh, we'll eat probiotics. I say, you know what? I remember many years ago, I had a really bad stomach. We had to film, and this was in Australia. And I went to the hospital there because I wanted something. And the only thing that this Chinese doctor prescribed was one capsule, 60 billion count of, I still get that. And everything was settled. What it did was it did control that. But if I had taken two of those, I would have been constipated for 2 days, probably. So I think too much of it. So same way, and I again want to caution on too much fiber also. Like probiotics, too much fiber also can be a problem. So I think life, what Luke talked about, the Maasai communities, whole balance that happens in a magical way. So while they may not be things that they grow, but if there is a cow that is there and there is limited milk that is there, they may add milk and blood together and have that as fuel for their body. So the balance that is maintained, balance is critical. balance of mind, balance of our body. And importantly, I think same thing about physical activity, right? Now, physical, and that's where things like adrenaline comes into play. Now, limited adrenaline, very good for you. Causes more stress when there is a higher release of adrenaline. So balancing all the so-called good and bad hormones, that's why be it mindfulness, be it meditation, be it breathing, be it chewing well, and keeping all the balance, what we have been taught over the years. Indian way of living, if I were to say, has been very evolved. Part of it we are losing, part of it we don't understand. So I would say at the academy, from the course, we are, people know it, but it's the course correction. We guide them, we tell them what is to be done. It's people know it, that, oh, food that is not clean is not good for them. But too clean is also not good for them. Allergens. Why do allergies happen like that? Because we have started to make everything so clean. So the dirt that was there, whether if it was where carrots are coming in, so there was always, we were not really feeling washing well, but maybe eating a different kind of root vegetable in your diet every day, not repeating. So when we talk of mono-farming, biodiversity, why is it becoming important? All this leads to gut. But how do you, when the whole world, there is so much of information, so much of knowledge, you try to put in a concise, simple form, which people can feel that difference and get benefited from. Of course, there is a specific problem that is there, which is acute. Solution is there. Multiple solutions are there with Luke on his consultations and whatever he does. Lots of personalized solutions that can be provided. But at the course, we want to give it more a balanced approach, knowledge. So whether it is sugar, whether it is fuzzy drinks, whether anything that is not clean, it's known, but still we have to talk about it. We have to tell people. So soaking of nuts, we've been doing it for years, but somewhere people stop doing that. Or phytic acid, he talks about. Same way, I know we don't talk about it. Protein from dal, right? It's good, but you have to understand whether it's soya, whether it is different. So there could be tryptophan inhibitors that are there. Soaking may help, germination may help. So you have to understand, and that's what the idea of the course is, that what is good for you. You may not need to go into too much of detail. All the research, all the work that is done, years of experience that we've tried to put forward in the course.
So, Chef, let me ask you. I mean, I cover healthcare as a beat as well. And one thing that I'm listening from everyone in the healthcare industry is that personalization is the way forward. When we look at medication, life, when we talk of medicines, there's a personalization of medication because each body responds differently. Does this hold true for food as well? Does each body respond differently to the same food?
Correct. Very, very good question. There are things that can be done collectively. So it's actually personalization. That's a very good way to live, but does not happen. So the air that you may need, but what do we breathe? We breathe what is available, right? So there are cohorts that can be created. So there's a very large cohort which is there, air that we breathe, or a city, water of Bangalore, water of Delhi, water of Mumbai, but that cohort is that city. And we are drinking similar water, right? Food, the cohort is a family or co-workers. And it is that's how it works, because there is personalization that can happen, but not always that personalization is possible. So we have to understand that one-to-one teaching, very good, but then there is classroom teaching, right? So it is always be a trade-off. To theoretically say that food for you and food for me and food for Luke, can we have best solutions individually, personalized? Definitely, but that's not the most practical way. Each one of us will love to have our individual cabin when we fly in first class. So that's first class. But life does not work in first class. Life we have to move in cattle class also, right? So each solution is there, but it may not be always for everyone. It may not be possible for everyone.
So, Luke, apart from food, what are the other lifestyle modifications that a person needs to do or must do to improve the gut health in general?
So there are many things to do, while we always talk about addition of new foods, which is very, very important. And like Chef was saying, that's exactly what the course teaches people. See, there is a certain amount of knowledge that is imparted to people. And then the course also encourages people now to kind of personalize it for yourself. You've heard some knowledge. Now, based on your lifestyle, your job, your eating timings, the state of India you come from, you put something together. So you can still personalize it with the knowledge that we provide in this course. Now, coming to the other lifestyle tips, for example, we've gotten into a habit of eating and grazing through the day. Snack. We've hardly finished breakfast. We're putting something in our mouth. We've hardly digested lunch. We're having a snack. So what happens is we need to understand that the gut has its own mechanism to basically replenish, regrow, fix, repair. But it can only do that when you're not eating. That's one of the reasons why after dinner, we have that break of sleep at night where the digestive system can replenish. So think about this. I have breakfast. Now I have to produce stomach acid. My pancreas has to produce digestive enzymes. My liver has to produce bile. And my microbiome has to, use certain nutrients to feed itself to grow. Okay. After that process is done, it needs to relax so it can replenish. But I've hardly finished eating. And again, I have to start the process again. So we're wearing out our gut. And that's one reason why a lot of people have problems. Now, certain people, because of their diabetes or certain conditions, may need to eat regularly because of maybe medication or fluctuation. But everyone else is eating too much. So one of the easiest ways for us to heal the gut is give it a break. So I'm not saying we have to do long fasting. Fasting anyway happens when we finish dinner, if we've eaten at a good time, and we eat after sunrise. So usually that's about 12 hours, and that's good enough. But if we can keep about a 3.5 to 4 hour gap between meals, it's a very scientific thing. We activate something called the MMC. So just think of the job of the BMC is to clean up during the night. It cleans up the city. Okay, the job of the MMC is like a housekeeping job. It gets activated when there's no food in the stomach. This is usually 3.5 hours after eating. There's like a sweeping action that happens. Replenishment happens and we're prepared for the next meal. So if we allow the intelligence of the body to work, what is it that we need to give it? The right food, the right quantity, the right time, and the right breaks between food. So that's one of the most easiest and inexpensive ways for us to actually enhance this. And in our academy, we also talk about this in detail, how people who are busy can actually do it, and even students. That's number one. Number two, improve your sleep, because while you're sleeping, your own intelligence of the body will help your gut to recover and grow. Number three, it's not about not eating junk food. It's about balance in life. It's about if 90% of your food is coming from junk and processed, you're going to have a problem. Let about 80 to 90% come from natural foods. The balance 20%, absolutely, yes, you can have a bag of chips, you can have an ice cream. It's all about balance, because I also know people who are very health obsessed, extremes, and they're still sick because it's not about that 10% or 20% of junk. It's their overall lifestyle, emotional health, mental health. Other things that we can do is, of course, be very aware of our mental and emotional health. Life is not without problems. Everyone knows that today. But the point is, there's a message that society is trying to send out to everyone that, oh, this is not okay. You need to be comfortable all the time. It's okay to be this way, that way. No, sometimes it's survival of the fittest. Okay, I'm not saying that as people. In the human body, right now, you, me, chef, everyone watching this, our cells are competing with each other. The healthiest cell will win. The weakest cell will die, or it will mutate and create a disease. So survival of the fittest is not made up by man. It's what exists in the human body. And what exists in the human body is projected out in our lives. So we need to understand, in a world where it's tough, there's pollution, there's pesticides, there are all of these issues, sedentary jobs that make us sit. We need to be stronger and go the extra mile to add value to survive in such difficult conditions. So we got to exercise for stronger lungs. We got to eat well for a gut that can boost an immune system to help us against pesticides, vice versa. So you see, this is the reason, and these are the little things that we can do over and beyond food to just, keep a great healthy gut working for us.
Awesome. Chef, when we're talking of gut health, what are some of the foods, like Luke said, the natural food should be consumed? What are some of the foods that are good to be consumed for ensuring a good gut health? And my specific question when it comes to food is because, we are a land of spices. We've always been. Indian food is known for spices. And when I think about gut, the first thing that comes into my mind is the spices. So what are some of the good spices and what are some of the spices that we must avoid?
Sure. Very good question. Thank you. I think one topic that I want to stress upon for gut health, which probably we have not touched really, is hydration, water, or not just water, but water from fruits, vegetables, wherever. Overall hydration that's there is critical. Because that's needed. Density, too much density is not good for the gut. Same way, when we say stomach should not be 100% full, right? So not too dense gut. Also, there has to be some empty space, right? That's where we say that eat not more than when you are leave when you are 3/4 full. And how can that happen? When we are eating fast, it cannot work like that. That's why you give it time, eat slowly, chew your food well, because your stomach has no teeth, right? And you give it time so that by the time you have spent those 20 minutes slowly eating, message goes, oh, now I am almost full, 15, maybe 75% full. And you can say, you can stop, and you've left all that time. And that's when you give that break and things start to work. Now, coming to the food, we understand that between good food, bad food, but in general, if I were to say, then something that is fresh, something that is in season, something that is local, will typically, for large number of people, would be good. So something that is fresh, seasonal, and local would be, unless there is a specific condition, there would be an issue. Something naturally, it takes away all the processed things, too processed thing, anything. Most importantly, and I cannot stress enough, moderation is the key. Moderation in quantity, what Luke said, but overall moderation. Don't overdo anything, be it prebiotic, probiotic. So generally, we understand that probiotics, good, prebiotics needed to feed on that. So very, very good class of. So in Indian context, if we were to say, so I talk about this and I say, you know what, goodness, it's so easy, so simple. Homemade yogurt, right, is much better than what is available as a probiotic yogurt that you would buy. The probiotic count of homemade is higher than the so-called probiotic yogurt that you buy from this. So all the simple things that we have been brought up with is in moderation. Now coming to the specific of spices. Naturally, let's say as per Ayurveda, we talk about that, okay, heating and cooling effect that we talk. And we understand there are spices, some are heating, some are cooling. But if we maintain, I don't want to confuse too much, don't want to say that, what cumin is cooling, chili is not, right? It may send wrong message, because the way spices work, they not only work on themselves, they also work as catalysts, right? The best way to do is, again, not overdo it. Do not overdo it. Moderation there also is the key. Moderation is the key. Now, when we talk about spices and we think that it's the spice which is causing too much problem, in Indian context, in Indian household, in Indian people, my experience has been, it is a combination of three things. It's high spice concentration in a dish. It is high fat also would normally be the case that's there. And somewhere it would be the over-processed food that would be there. Density of that food also would be high. So if you take care of these things, you can easily eat. Naturally, fat is important. If there are spices, I want to benefit of turmeric, for example, right? It is something that has curcumin, which is only fat soluble. Now, pepper, great catalyst, not only for anything else, but piperine or bioperine from that works on curcumin, and the bioavailability of curcumin for body absorption is better when there's a little bit of pepper. Pepper, just the tikha part of it, can be an irritant for the gut also if you overdo it. It's not just the chili, right? So I say that don't over intellectualize it. Keep it simple, keep it moderate, unless there is a specific problem and you're sensitive to that, and you say, you know what, I have celiac disease and it's known that gluten, no, I cannot tolerate, out, right? It is something, you're lactose intolerant. Okay, but other than that, large number of people, moderation, quantity, quality, and all the things, what you have heard, it's actually not only for the gut, because all the problems start from gut, end with gut. So whether it is or the mutation you talked about, how that happens, leads to multiple complications. It's not just the IBS or anything. There are multiple complications that happen. So keep your life simple. Do not produce stress hormones, so that without anything, exam stress can ruin your gut. You have to run to the toilet. There is dar jata hai to peshab nikal jata hai. What is this? Right? It is and you did not eat anything. You did not drink anything, yet it happened. So which means that mind and gut, we all know connected, but do not over intellectualize. Try and keep the life simple, moderate, and if there is specific problem, you have Luke Coutinho.
What is Chef Sanjeev Kapoor's daily diet? How do you keep yourself fit, enjoying the food that you eat?
I wish I could say that I was very fit. So my profession is something where I would say that it's less than ideal thing, but I try and control in a way that the first half I focus on fruits more. That's what I would do. Earlier, I could do multiple fruits, but now I don't do that. I would have one fruit at a time. And before lunch, I probably can have, like today, I've had melon, but I first had papaya, then I had melon in the morning hours. I still am old school, and that's the time my wife and I sit down together. I have some nuts with almonds with soaked almonds. Take the skin out, and I also have a very light tea, which is not the oil; it's more water that's there. Then fruits, and sometimes when I feel, and that's at least twice in a week, when there is breakfast, which is could be thali peat. I would love to have that. Could be ragi dosa that's there, but that's not all 7 days. That's probably twice a week. Lunch, like I'm in the office, lunch is pretty straightforward and simple. It's vegetable, dal, chas, and it is either brown rice or some roti. Roti, if it is there, it's ragi or jawar. And that's not for anything. It's because my mom is gluten intolerant, so that's how the whole family now eats. And in the night, it's if I'm home, it's similar kind of food. Cuisine may change, but the composition would largely be same. But then, when you go out, when you do that, you eat but you try and eat mindfully. You know what it is. You tell them what to do, what not to do. And being a chef, I know how things are done. So I tell them, ye mat kar. So I may say, so if I'm eating a dosa outside, I say bina tel ke bana, because I know that if I want that masala, usme to tel banaya, wo to bana nahi sakta hai. So when you say less, kuch bolne ke liye less unko nahi aata, right? So you say uske bina bana, right? And then they will do that with little bit. So that's okay, because in the food service industry, if I were to say, when you go out, people are trained to deliver higher taste, and that's what people seek. So they are trained to deliver that. So even when you think that, sushi खाए हमारे यहाँ पे, लेकिन what they would do is उसके ऊपर में mayonnaise ऐसे इतनी मार के देंगे, ऐसे spicy mayonnaise डाल के, that it's lost its meaning. And the same is in case salads also. I see that when people order salads, and I see the kind of dressings and kind of things that they have in their salad. So I would eat mindfully. But I eat everything. There's nothing that I don't eat.
Yeah, the last word that you used, I eat mindfully, is actually the key. So Luke, one is when we're talking of gut health, how does one individual at home be able to monitor the gut health? एक तो होता है कि when you end up having a problem, all symptoms kind of show up. But how do you know that it's time to be watchful, it's time to be mindful, you're heading for a problem?
Right. So let me put it this way. If anyone in the audience has these problems or symptoms that I'm about to list, the first solution is to check out our content in the academy, because that's exactly the answer to the question that you have, that people in the audience would have. So number one, chronic acidity. You keep getting acid reflux. See, once in a way you get acidic, maybe you eat a heavy biryani, you will get acidic. It's okay, your gut's fine. But you're getting it constantly, or you're constipated, or you have constant loose motions, or your poop is always floating. It's a pale color and it's always floating. Sometimes you have pain in the gallbladder stones, or your doctor's told you have a fatty liver, which is a very common problem. 1 in 3 to 4 Indians have a fatty liver. These are all indications of gut problems. Or you're bloated. After a meal, you're just bloated. And then after a while, your stomach kind of goes in again. Or indigestion. People have a habit, the moment they have a heavy meal, they feel funny, they'll take a Gelusil or they'll take an Eno. These are signs that your gut is weak, or you're constantly getting sick. Low-grade fevers, colds, coughs, stomach bugs. This all signifies that your gut isn't working the right way. Also, you can't sleep well at night. That's also interrelated. All of a sudden, things are going well in your life, but you're having symptoms of depression or constant anxiety, or your skin starts to change. Some people's skin, the pigmentation starts, you start to get rashes. This can also be caused because of several other things. You would still look at the liver, but these are the first signs of poor gut health. Or the foods that you could eat as a kid, all of a sudden you have an allergy to it. You can't eat it all of a sudden. Your body could eat it then and it can't now because there's inflammation in your gut, or you're suddenly allergic to something that would never make you allergic. Or fatigue. You've slept well at night, but during the day you have constant slumps in energy, something called brain fog. You can't think clearly. You slept well, everything's good, but you can't think. It's called brain fog. These are all of the many, many, many indicators of poor gut health, and it must be looked at immediately.
And look, what is the role of water and beverages when it comes to gut health?
So water is extremely important, like Chef said. Even a 1% drop of hydration in our body puts the entire system into stress mode. Because see, the human body doesn't care about what our goals are, what we need to achieve today, what we're trying to do. It only cares about one thing, survival. For that, is it getting enough of oxygen, water, and nutrients from food? So even if I'm dehydrated by 1%, your entire body goes into the sympathetic nervous system, which means everything is primed for some threat just by a 1%. Your electrolytes change, your sodium, your potassium, all of that moves all over place, affecting your heart, affecting brain function. That's why some people get dizzy spells. So it's a very serious issue, dehydration. People take it very lightly. Now, when it comes to beverages, like Chef said, we can get water in fruits and vegetables, but your coffee is not water. Your coffee is actually a diuretic. So if I have a cup of coffee, I should have a cup of water, because coffee, even though black coffee is great for your health, it's flushing out water, magnesium, electrolytes from your system, which is why coffee is never used as a sports drink, because it dehydrates you if you don't drink sufficient water. Tea as well, a little less caffeine, but it's not considered as water. Your vegetable juices, your soups, your dals, all of that, yes, you can consider that as water. So that's the difference between beverages, and that's the difference between pure natural water.
Chef, what is the role of plant-based foods? I mean, suddenly there's this fad about the plant-based foods. What is its role in, when we're talking about gut health?
I think these are two separate, the current fad that you say. So plant-based food is for people where meat-based food was overtaking their life. They could not, and they were diet and meat-based diet was it was not something. Even meat eaters were eating plant-based diet, complementing that in a big way. Current trend that we are seeing is largely it's a phenomena which has, I would say, triggered from the West. Having said that, there is a large part where, because in India we are a large consumer of dairy also, which is non-plant, right? So our dairy, whether it is protein, whether it is milk, I would say that these are early days in terms of if I were to say which way we should go. I would say somebody who, as a country where we have had dairy and their tolerance to dairy is fairly good and fairly high, I think we will continue to do that. Meat, in any case, we are complementing that with plant-based diet. In terms of gut, if I were to say, again, not all plants are same, not all meats are same. So to generalize that gut will behave in a same way for all plant-based diet and all meat or dairy, no, it's not. I wish there was an easy answer that, you know what, everything that is plant-based is easier for gut and everything. No, unfortunately not. There are more examples that are there. How it is grown, how it is cooked, the way. So let's say we talked about kidney beans, right? Rajma. What do we have to do with it, right? We have to make sure it is soaked well. Then we have to cook it really well. Still, it's very hardy because it is dried hydration of it. Then when we eat it, the way it works in the gut, it's not an easy thing for the gut to do. Forget that. Even nuts, right? The nuts, the way work in the gut, it's not easy for the gut to manage nuts. Also, while you may think that, you know what, oh wow, it's fantastic, it's good for you. So it may be good for many things. It may be good for the high quality fats that it may bring in, but it is for the gut to manage that. It's not that easy. So when it comes to gut, the science of gut is complicated. Even experts, even people with great knowledge have not been able to isolate all the acids that are there. So we talk about stomach acid, right? So the composition of stomach acid, it's whether it's hydrochloric acid or what kind of acids is 1, 2 combination, all of that, it's still work in progress. While we have progressed a lot, gut and mind, which are connected, the science is something that we are students, we are learning, and with little knowledge that we have gained, we are trying to make other people, we are enriching, but to say that we know it all, forget me, Luke, anybody, we are just students.
Right. So Luke, what is the takeaway? What are the key takeaways for anyone who attends this course?
I think the takeaway also is very important, what Chef just spoke about. You see, there's no right or wrong answer. That's why we encourage mindfulness. Try. It's called self-realization. Do it. Does it suit you? Because we don't know. Meat suits some people, plants suit other people. Today we have vegans and vegetarians who can't eat certain plants that they used to before because of the lectins in those plants have created massive gut issues. So, it's not right or wrong. And, we encourage people to stop fighting over these little things. And what suits you? If you're doing something for religious benefits, please follow it. But otherwise, if you're just following herd mentality, that's where your limitation is. You need to try and suit. We have a lot of vegans who have moved back to their original way of eating, and they're feeling fabulous. We also have a lot of meat eaters who have moved to plant-based because of inflammation in their heart and their prostate, and they're feeling fabulous. So through our course, we want to empower people. We don't want to preach. We want to empower people with our experience, our knowledge and science, put it all out there. And now we want the audience to take away what they say. Hey, wow, this sounds good. Let me try it. Oh, it worked. Great. Let me make it a lifestyle change. Oh, this doesn't work for me. Maybe what Chef Sanjeev said, add this to my lentil when I'm cooking it. Wow, this is working. We want to empower people with a decision-making ability. Once we put everything out there, to learn to make their own decisions in life, because everyone's unique. Chef doesn't know what's right for everyone, nor do I, nor does anyone do it. But we can empower people rather than preach. And that's exactly what we want to do through the Academy.
So Luke, before I end this conversation, I have this one question from both of you. And let me begin with you. What is that one change you feel that every human being must bring to their lifestyle to live a happier and joyful life?
Mindfulness. Because like Chef said, we know everything, but we're not mindful to do it at that right time. So consciousness, mindfulness, awareness. That is the ingredient for anything. Gut, food, relationships, anything in life. That's what we need.
Lovely. Chef?
I think very rightly said. It is internalizing that it's not our... So mindfulness, it sounds like a very big word for some people. People think that meditation will do that. It's just internalizing. It is that, is it good for me or not? If I were to, let's say, I am obsessed with exercise, and that puts stress on my mind. And the day I choose that, oh no, I'm overworked, I will not exercise, but I'll sleep better. I'll just sleep more. And next day when you wake up and you feel better, then to choose sleep over exercise, that's mindfulness.
Yeah.
It's the resultant of your own actions in a small way every day. Don't ignore that. Whatever is happening to you, good, bad, ugly, knowing that is mindfulness. Acting on it is smartness.
Awesome. Very beautifully explained, Chef. I personally believe that our body has its own way of communicating to us the challenges as well as the possible solutions to what is happening. And what I hear from both of you today is that the post that you're putting up is creating awareness so that people have all the nuggets available to them for them to come and pick intelligently and put to use basis what they think will work for them and bring that change to their own life. I think it's a beautiful service with a great intent that both of you have come up with. And, I can only thank you so much for joining us today, because when you have two knowledgeable people, two people who are passionate about what they are doing, and two people who are trusted for the work that they do, when they come together, there is something meaningful that can be contributed by them for making life better for everyone around. So thank you so much for what you do, and thank you so much for having a conversation with me today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having this for us.
Thank you very much.